A big welcome to everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm Rusty. I'm a member of BAPC, the Bay Area Photographers Collective. We're here to talk about magnetic pull. We found out it's the 37th group exhibition that we've put on, maybe the 21st annual one. Tonight is the second of 3 scheduled artist talks with BAPC members who are participating in the Arc Gallery show. First up, San Francisco's Art Gallery will tell us a bit about what's available at the gallery during and after this exhibition. Then I'm going to introduce Meg Shiffler, our distinguished moderator for tonight's discussion. And then she'll interview my colleagues Anthony Delgado, Dominique, Tom Lavin, Angelika Schilli, Nathalie Strand, and myself. And then we'll take some questions and try and wrap this up in about an hour. So let me unmute Stephen and allow me to introduce Stephen Wagner of Art Gallery.
Hi, I'm Stephen C. Wagner. I'm one of the owners of Art Gallery, along with Michael Yoakum and Priscilla Otani. And we are in our 11th year on South of Market in San Francisco. And we are unfortunately, we were celebrating our 10th anniversary last year, and it happened right as the pandemic hit. So we will have our 10-year anniversary coming up this April. So we have an 8,000 square foot building south of Market on Folsom Street, and we have a 1,000 square foot art gallery. We also have a smaller project gallery and a solo exhibition gallery, as well as 10 artist studios and a couple art organization offices. And each year we are happy to donate the gallery to not-for-profit in the Bay Area. And this year we offered the gallery to the Bay Area Photographers Collective. They produced a show with us before, and we were very happy with the results. So we're very proud to have them produce this exhibition this year. And the exhibition is up through February 20th. And then the next exhibition at Art Gallery will be 48 Pillars, where 24 artists make a pair of pieces that are 12 inches by 48 each. So it's a really unique show. We are open to the public on Saturdays from 12 to 3 and during the week by appointment. So if you're interested in coming by the gallery and visiting us, you can email Art Gallery and we can set up a time to meet you to show you the exhibitions. So we are very excited to have the Bay Area Photographers exhibition in the gallery. Currently, we've gotten such good feedback from the people who have visited the galleries about the exhibition. So you can visit this Saturday or next Saturday, the 20th. So we'll be happy to host you at the gallery. So thank you for inviting me to introduce the exhibition tonight. Take care.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Stephen. So I would like to introduce Meg Shiffler. Meg I know her as a curator. She is the gallery's director and chief curator of the San Francisco Arts Commission. SFAC is a municipal arts program that operates 3 galleries in the heart of the Civic Center. She's a regular guest lecturer at regional universities, was a faculty member at the San Francisco Art Institute, and is currently a member of the Creative Cities Working Group at Stanford. She's a great friend of BAPC. She did an amazing job curating our 20th anniversary exhibition in 2019. Welcome, Meg.
Thanks, everyone. Can you hear me? We good? Great.
Yes.
Perfect. It's great to be back with you. I'm especially fond of BAPC and feel like all the members are my friends, and I was honored to come and do this with you all tonight. I want to start by thanking the curators, Daniel and Jennifer, and say what a beautiful show it is. I actually went to see the exhibition last weekend. I encourage everyone to stop by in person. It's such a special experience to be able to get to see art in person these days. And I have to admit that I'm not getting out as much. You know, my sort of feelings about personal safety keep me from doing this, but I felt perfectly safe. There was only one other person in the space when I was there, and I got to take all the time that I wanted to see the show, and I encourage you all to do that. I want to thank Ann Jastrib for kicking off this speaking series, this conversation series last week. It was really inspiring, and I'm happy to take slot number 2, and there's one more conversation in a few weeks. So if you haven't registered for that, please do, and I'll see you there. In terms of the format tonight, a couple things. BAPC is about sharing. It's a collective. And one of the things that I know that you all do often is you get together and you share your portfolios, you talk about your work. I think that, you know, some of you are really intimately familiar with each other and your work, but I was thinking about learning and I was thinking about inspiration. So the way this is going to work is that we're going to go through each artist individually, each of the 6 that we're talking to tonight, and have that person share information about the body of work that's in the show. And then I asked each of the people tonight, each of the featured artists tonight, to choose someone or a few people that have inspired this body of work or inspired their work in general. And then I added a slide of something that their work made me think of. So this is, get out your notebook, get out a pen, because I am hoping that there are going to be artists coming up in this conversation that you don't know. And this is an opportunity to learn about some new artists, or just think about work in a different way. The other thing is I wasn't able to share my screen. So Angelika is going to run the show for us. And I might say next a lot, but we're going to roll with it. So Angelika, share your screen whenever
I will
you're
try my
ready.
best. So everyone be patient, you know.
And Rusty, you could
I will
spotlight
put it
both
into
of them.
Say that again.
I was just saying Rusty
Hey.
can spotlight both.
Yeah. Okay, everyone is good and seated?
Yep.
Okay, let's start, right?
Let's start. And first up is Angelika. Angelika, I know that there are 3 slides here featuring the works that are in the show, and I'd love to have you kick us off with telling us about this beautiful and intimate body of work. It's really so lovely.
Thank you. So can everyone hear me? Okay. This is an ongoing, for many years, ongoing project. So I actually started to photograph different spaces I lived in, or it's also my parents' house and my grandmother's house. I'm very attached to objects and spaces and what we leave behind. And I'm a true believer that we fill the space with our presence. And this is a very subtle presence. This is when I removed the carpet when we moved out of this apartment, and this triangle came up. And there's also a photo corner in the triangle. I don't know if people see that actually. That was like pushed under, and I thought that was like a special extra touch that I probably never cleaned and never saw, but that's what we leave behind. So it's very intimate portraits for me, these images. So I assume you want to go.
Yep.
Okay. So same thing. I like these like really things that often are overlooked, you know. So this the blue carpet, the stain on it was actually an office chair that was moved back and forth. It's just, you know, it's just simple, but it's something you see that someone lives in that space. And then the other image is actually my grandmother's house, and I spent many you know, summers, weekends in my grandmother's house. And when she passed away, we knew that the house would be sold. And I think a lot of people have that experience, you know, to lose a person and to lose a space and to lose where you grew up in. That was just the light hitting the bathroom, and it's a very poetic image to me. My goal was to really evoke an emotion. So I know people, you know, some people are not attached to spaces and are not attached to objects, but I think we all can relate to loss and like nostalgia and things like that.
Let's look at this last slide and then talk about this body of work a little bit more before we go on to your inspiration shot.
So that's actually I also like to photograph in my own apartment. So this is actually my own apartment. So it's just a moment, like it's in my bathroom, and every day I saw this, and I just like to explore, like, you know, different angles, like that speak to me, and you know, that evoke a feeling in me and hopefully in other people who look at the work. I see this really as intimate portraits, actually.
They feel like that, Angelika. They feel really personal, and yet open enough so that I can remember an apartment that I had where there was a big, you know, stain on the carpet. So I think people can read their own, I think, paths into these images as well. They aren't specific enough to really have it be just your, you know, your space.
Yeah.
And I read that you've been doing this series for decades.
Yeah.
And can you talk a little bit about why the subject of home and maybe loss, because you've moved many times throughout the last decades, and why you keep coming back to this?
So actually, I don't move that much. I think for United States standards, but I like to stay pretty put. But it's also because we live in a city that is very expensive. But I grew up in Germany and you know, immigrated to the United States, and I think part of it is that, you know, like, so where are my roots, like, you know, I photographed my parents' house and also my grandmother's house. That's really like where the loss comes in, like, you know, loss of childhood, like my grandmother passed away and loss of memories, you know, things like that. But also like not necessarily loss of a country, but I think when you immigrate, and I think a lot of immigrants can relate to that, for some reason you are drawn more to the spaces you left behind. And I said, like, personally, like, I'm very attached to objects, and objects are stories for me, spaces are stories for me. I find it weird when I enter a space and it's all like designed and clean cut and there are no personal touches. So I think that's what it's coming from. And I really, to me, it's like, it's a very personal portrait, but it's also, on one hand, for me personally, a historical document, but it's more memories, and it's really emotional for me. And I think that's what I hope the viewer will see.
Let me ask you another quick question, and then I think we need to move on to the next slides. But do you use them as memory triggers? Do you go back and look at the series, and does it place you in time and in a place in your life when you look at them?
Definitely, yes, for sure. Like and for my grandmother's houses, I can't go into that space anymore. So this is like definitely memory lane. But also the apartments I lived in and, you know, left behind. So and I also still photograph in the apartment I live in now. So it's really an ongoing project.
Let's go to the next slide. and talk about your inspiration. I love this pick. You couldn't have picked someone more perfect. So tell us just in a few sentences about why Uta Barth is inspiring to you.
So actually, I started the project before I knew her work. So that I feel happens a lot. You start something and then you can relate to the other artist's work more. It is very funny. I think I took a photography class and someone said, your work reminds me of. So that's often how it starts, right? So your work reminds me of, and actually, I actually think I'm pretty sure it was Todd Heidel that suggested that. And then I looked into it, and then funny enough, she also has a similar history than I have. Like she's also was born also in Germany. I came way later in life, but she came as a 12-year-old, I believe. But that it was her sensibility, how she photographed. I like blurry images, so I think that attracted me initially to her work. But it's also, there's lots of like, she did a series where she photographed her window like over and over and over again. And I'm just fascinated by these things. Like, this images I picked because it's like again, like it's blurry, but you can make it out. There are pictures on the wall. There's this like chest drawer, and it's again, what is the story behind this? And then this green color on the wall. So, but all her work, I think, is very poetic. It's very, sensibility of light. I'm attracted to that too. So I really love exploring her work, and I thought I was very interested that she had similar background,
I love that, Angelika. I think that's the good segue to the next slide.
Yeah.
So I picked a couple people. I picked Alessandra Sanguinetti. She's a Magnum photographer. She lives in the Bay Area, and she was born in New York, but her family moved to Buenos Aires, and she went back to photograph inside of her parents' home, and she's adding close-ups of her parents into it, so it's a little bit different than yours. It's site and residence, so you get the whole portrait of the place, which gives it a little bit of a different tone than yours. But I think the close-ups in this series it's what this series I think resonates with your work in the same kind of way, that it's all about the little details. And I wrote down that she said, where you grow up becomes a reference for what home should and shouldn't be. And I find them really raw. And so let's go to the next one. Sorry, this is, we have 6 artists in an hour, so we're gonna keep a clip. And so this is kind of a weird one, but I pulled up Robert Rauschenberg's photos, and I find them really intimate, and I don't find his work intimate, but these I do. And it's in the show, your work is hung salon style, and I was thinking of this strategy of narrative storytelling by stacking, and I think that he's creating these really intimate and beautiful stories in these pieces that made me think of the stack of your work in the show. So I just wanted to share that. And I think that's it. And then we'll come back hopefully during the Q&A to some questions for you.
For sure. So I'm going to go to the next person.
Yep. Next we have Tom. Tom, are you there?
I am here.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, Meg. How are you?
I'm really good. So we have 2 photos of yours, this one and the next one. And I'm betting there's a great story behind these. Why don't you tell us what these are about?
Well, this is the Southern Pacific Station in Oakland. It's part of a larger series of abandoned. Most are buildings, but not all of them. And it's, by the time I get inside one of these buildings, it's like a book. A book opens before you, and you're at chapter 99 So many things have happened to these buildings before I get there. And part of the challenge is not just photographing them, but trying to figure out what happened. How did the buildings get to this state? What is the history of the building? This particular building has been abandoned for 27 years now. It kind of interesting because the bay came right up to the building when the building was originally constructed, and now the bay is probably 2 miles away
Wow.
via landfill. But you know, the other thing is this ties in professionally. I'm an architect, so I've worked on several historical buildings in restorations. I've seen buildings from chapter 1 all the way through to chapter 99. And I find it fascinating, just fascinating what happens to these and the crime of neglect. Because I mean, you can see that this building has got a roof leak, and I'm sure that roof leak is still there today. And it's just, in a way, it's heartbreaking to see this, because my experience as an architect, I walk into one of these things and I can see what could be. And here I can only see what is. And that does tend to, you know, but there is beauty in decay. And what I try to do is show that in the photographs.
Let's look at the next one, because they're quite different. They have entirely different moods. The last one was sort of, I mean, glorious in its decay. And
Yes.
This one, you've really zoomed in. And to me, the interest is what lies on the other side of this portal. You know, you see this gray interior, and then you see this, you know, beautiful landscape and expanse on the other side of it.
This, I'm very fond of this image. And I have to tell you that this, since the pandemic, and I've been, my wife and I have pretty much been very religious about staying at home. I've gone through a lot of my older photographs, and I've developed a series called Second Pressing. And it's very similar to what, you know, a winery does. That's how they get rosé wines, and I guess white Burgundy, I don't know. But it's an interesting phenomenon, because I know when I set up my tripod and photographed this image 12 years ago, I had the advantage of the whole environment. I not only saw what was in the frame of my camera, but I saw everything else around me. And for one reason or another, when I put together this portfolio, I didn't include this image. I just,
really?
Boom, went right over the top of it. So in second pressings, I sit there at my computer and wish I was out in the field, but am looking at portfolios of images that I have done more than 10 years ago. And it's the interesting thing about this is that now I see this image just as any other viewer would see it. I don't remember what's on the outside of it. I don't remember what was above me or below me. All I have now is what's in front of me. And I thought that's, you know, I'm psychologically trying to figure this out, why I didn't see this image as being worthy 12 years ago, but I do now. And
Absolutely.
I'll let you know when I figure it out, Meg.
It's such a beautiful image. It's like the B side of a record, and then all of a sudden you find out it's a hit. So
Yes, I like that. I like that. I'm going to use that.
Going back into your own work, especially if you've built, you know, a huge library over the years, I think that your what you saw when you shot it and looked at it the first time, you're looking at it with different eyes. You're a different age, you know,
Yes.
you're looking at it from a different point in your life, with different wisdom behind it. And so, I don't know, we all see images differently at different points in our life. So it makes sense to me. Let's go on and talk about the 3 inspiration shots. You, my friend, you picked some heavy hitters here. And so I don't think we have time to really go through big detail on the 3 of them.
Okay.
But we've got Jerry, and then next we have, we have Minor,
Minor White.
and next we have Ruth. So tell me about these 3 heavy hitters. Are they people you go back to over and over again, or what is it about this remarkable trio?
Well, they're people that have had influence in my photographic life. The first time I saw that Jerry Uelsman image, I went, you know, holy cow. I didn't know, and that was, I don't know, 30 years ago I saw that image. And I didn't think that that could be done. You know, I've seen montages done in darkrooms before, but not with the surrealist aspect to it, or the inviting you in to make your own interpretation of it. And that was just totally, well, I was a young guy too, you know, but it was totally unique to me. And it was just, I took 3 workshops with him since then, got to meet him, got to know him, and just loved the whole experience and loved the psyche behind it. He's a terrific guy.
And, you know, I think younger people look at this and they're like, Photoshop, bada boom, bada bing, right?
Exactly.
And it's not that.
Well, you know, it's really, this is kind of cool because Adobe paid Jerry Uelsman to do an image in Photoshop. And he did it. It wasn't very good. And later on, he said, I just absolutely hated it. So no, this is all mechanical.
Yeah.
And this is, I set up my darkroom to do this. I had 3 enlargers in there, and I was doing all this stuff myself, not as well as him. But it was just fascinating to set the table on an image, you know, set it so that a viewer can come in and make their own interpretation as to what they think they're looking at. And it's, you know, in my images and in his, I know he gets all sorts of different reactions to it. You know,
thanks for sharing about your love of Jerry's work. I think he's remarkable and kind of overlooked now in this age of Photoshop. So it's time to like go back and look at the people who were doing these remarkable things before that. So we've got Minor and we've got Ruth, but I think we need to sort of quickly move through this.
Okay. So this image I brought to a Friends of Photography workshop. And I was, I think, one of 8 people who were going to be reviewed by Ruth Bernhardt. And, you know, she had a reputation of being nasty. I mean, it was downright nasty when she reviewed images. And so we all, you know, the 8 of us sat around, and there was about 100 people around us, you know, watching like slaughter that was going to happen. And the first 2 guys came up, and they had images of Yosemite that they would have made Ansel Adams jealous. Really, they were gorgeous. They were just drop dead gorgeous. And Ruth ate them alive. You know, she just said, you know, if I want to see Yosemite, I'll go there. I'll be able to smell it. I'll be able to feel it. I don't have to look at your photograph to it, you know. And then I was next. And I'm going, well, this is the image that I had. And I'm going, oh, I'm screwed. So I put the image out there, and she picked up the image and she held it above her head. And she said to everyone there, everyone, I want you to look at this image. And so I thought, she's going to humiliate me too.
Oh my goodness. All right.
I was terrified. And so she said, only the photographer could have come up with this image. It is so unique and original. And she went on and on and on. And I was, you know, I was delighted, embarrassed, but delighted. And that was my experience with her. And I've always kept that in mind.
Yeah.
That I have a unique point of view, and every photographer has a unique point of view. And you can photograph things like Yosemite, and Yosemite is doing most of the work.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, but in this particular image, which is not a great image, but I did all the work. So this is an example of total imagination.
That's great. All right, we have to move on, Tom. So I'm going to give you mine, and it's Anthony Hernandez. You're probably all familiar with his work. If you're not, he lives between LA and Idaho. He works in with a lot of different subject matter. He works in black and white and color. He works in 35mm to large format. Major exhibitions in the last 10 years, and is a very celebrated photographer who also really thinks about the beauty of abandoned spaces and architectural features. And these two images, this one and the next one, really resonated with that last image of yours in the exhibition, Tom. And so I just wanted to bring this artist into the conversation. And if you don't know Anthony's work, you can go ahead and look that up. All right, let's move on.
Thank you, Meg.
Yeah, thank you. All right, we've got Anthony Delgado, and we've got two images that were in the show, and then one image that I added that's actually in the catalog. And so, Anthony, tell us about.
There.
Are you there?
Yes.
Where are you? Hi, my friend.
Hi, nice to see you.
Tell us about these images. We've got two from Sicily and one from Spain, one from Seville, right?
That's correct. Yes. Yeah. These all three images were taken during Holy Week celebrations in 3 different places. So the two in Sicily are from different parts of Sicily. This one in Seville. The processions themselves are interesting to see, and there's a lot to see, but there's things that happen outside of it that are also quite interesting. In this
Look
case,
at the next one. Yeah.
Yeah, so here the band is just waiting in the middle of the afternoon before a procession starts, and the town dog that followed everybody around is sitting there with them.
And then the next one. Oh, so good.
And this is in Trapani, where they're getting ready to take the procession out. And this man has a kind of a corset to support his body when they're carrying these heavy floats.
Can you talk for just 1 minute about your desire? The quote that I pulled from your statement is activity on the edges. That to you, you're always looking for what's happening on the side of the main event.
Yeah, there's just so much to see. There's so many things to get your attention and photographic opportunity. And the processions themselves, I've got a whole series of work that's about that, but also on the edges, well, people are moving, observing, doing different things than you would do in normal times. I find that quite interesting.
One of the things that I find about your work, and maybe Angelika, we can go back through the 3 of them again, is a sense of humor. And are you looking for that also when you shoot, or is it in the edit that you're finding these kind of odd compositions? And I don't know, I find this image graceful and formal, but also funny. Like there's a great sense of humor about your work, I think.
Yeah, I don't think I go out purposely to shoot humor, but it shows up, like you say, in the edit.
Yeah.
In this case, I saw this happening. I saw the legs coming out of the door. I tried to get that shot with just the legs, which actually might be funny, but by the time I could actually press the button, yeah, this is where they were.
It's such a great image, Anthony. Let's go to your inspiration, because you, again, couldn't have picked a heavier hitter.
Yeah.
what does Cartier-Bresson mean to you in your practice?
Yeah, this is Joseph Kudelka, and this is, yeah, well, I mean, it's just being aware, having your eyes open, but like Cartier-Bresson said, just walk out there and expect a miracle. And
Okay, next.
in this case, just shooting straight on, again, Kudelka, and
Yeah.
kind of the heaviness, the solidity of this image. I do. And what's one of the things I like to do is just shoot straight on, almost like a painter, like a traditional painterly format.
And one more.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and then humor, yes, but well-composed humor.
That's great. I for my inspiration, let's go to the next one. I picked Fellini. I was thinking about Italy, and I was thinking about humor, and I was thinking about light and composition and the formality of the figure, but also sort of the grace and pain of what it means to be human. And then also this sort of heightened nature of it. So, you know, one might wonder in your photographs whether they're posed, whether you've said, oh, hold, so I can take this shot, because you are catching them in such incredible moments. And, you know, the best candid shots are like that. And in Fellini's films, that's La Dolce Vita, filmed in 1960 on the left, and 8½, filmed in 1963 on the right. So you were in Italy, and I was thinking about Italian cinema and the relationship between humor and formality.
Yeah, actually, there was a still at the beginning of La Dolce Vita where the helicopter is carrying a statue through the air, which is,
yeah.
I was actually thinking of that when I was thinking of inspirations.
Yeah, that's great. Next. I just thought that I would share something because I went down the rabbit hole of Italian street photography, that this book, I thought I'd give you all something to look for in your life. And if you have this book, you have a treasure. So this is a book that I've wanted and that I've tried to find for a decade. And the first editions are $800 to $1,000, and you might be able to get a second edition or third edition for $300 to $600. But this is an extraordinary book. I had my hands on it once, and it has some of the great Italian street photographers, primarily of the 1960s. And if you ever see it in a shop and they don't know what they've got, get it, and run. So your work reminded me of this, the one that slipped through my fingers. So that's my homework for you, Anthony, to go find this book. Do you have it?
No, I don't. I don't have that book, no.
Darn. All right, everybody, you've got your homework. Go find this book for $100. All right, thanks, Anthony.
All right, thank you.
All right, next up, we have Rusty, my friend.
Hi there.
Hi, Rusty. I love this body of work. I have a 15-year-old who is currently in his bedroom on playing video games. And so tell us about this, this series. I think that there are 3 photos here.
Right. Well, this is a series I started in 2019. I was trying to document the nature of face-to-face social gaming. I have a few gamers in my life who made me sort of curious about gamer culture, kind of what's the allure of it, and, you know, how much is gaming like a form of social interaction? So I was working on a series about night work, and had intended to do something about gaming. And, you know, actually after speaking to you, Meg, in 2019, I decided to focus on that for a while. There's a lot of kind of esports places here and in Oakland that I started haunting on a weekly basis. They have these things called Smash tournaments. Unlike kind of like the nifty esports you might see on TV now, these are retro games, kind of like old Nintendo
Yeah.
machine played on kind of low res monitors.
Let's look at the next image.
Cool. So I went to, like, you know, colleges, and I went to these esports arenas, and I went to some tournaments just to kind of get the feel of what these guys are up to. They're competing.
Mhm.
It may not look like it. They're having some fun too.
Next. Oh, I love this image.
Yeah, this Ian on the right is somebody who's kind of charismatic in the community, and so I followed him around as he competed. And this was at an Oakland esports arena. Of course, when the pandemic happened, on-site gaming paused, and these guys, of course, have been playing online on, you know, Twitch, Discord, all these services. But yeah, you can see really the magnetic pull, if you will, here. They're really immersed in this. I went for candid shots whenever possible.
What is it? I mean, did you feel a sense of community? Was community important to them? Is it the same people that would meet up every week?
Yeah, there's like lists, there's like Facebook groups around it. And yeah, there is a sense of community. There are tournaments, people compete for points. They want to, you know, go to Vegas or LA or Seattle and play in big tournaments. So there is rankings involved, but it is very social, and people, you know, bring their girlfriend or their best friend. And there actually are women that compete too. I tried to focus on them as well. So yeah.
I want to ask you, like, why you chose gamers, but let's go to the next image, and you can talk about where you started and then how you ended up focusing on gamers.
Right. So I wanted to focus on night work. I'm very captivated by photographing at night. And so I looked for, like, what are the most interesting jobs that people do at night? And of course, there's a new job called a dabber at dispensaries. And this local dispensary was kind enough to let me kind of hang out and shoot people. I did a bunch of interesting shoots, including with like animal control, and, you know, different types of night workers, burlesque dancers, even, you know, kind of some fun stuff. And I kind of just wanted to understand the nature of night work and sort of the passion. You really do have to bring some passion to do this kind of thing at night. So. All
right, let's do your inspiration here.
Right. So there's a photographer many of you may know, Christopher Anderson. I think he's a Magnum photographer. He has a body of work called Approximate Joy that was set in Shenzhen. There's a bunch of young workers who he shot mainly at night. I absolutely adore the style, the lighting. I can tell you the lighting is absolutely, you could get this same lighting in San Francisco. It's very kind of realistic, and yet it's kind of glaring. And I think kind of the looks on people's faces in this series is just priceless if you get a chance to look at it. They're really maybe seem to be at a turning point in their lives.
We were talking about this earlier, in that I think of Christopher Anderson as this like hard-hitting, you know, photojournalist who's been on front lines, who was, you know, in a Haitian refugee vessel that sank, that he has a famous body of work around that. And this particular body of work that you pulled up, Approximate Joy, is really, really sensitive and really human. And I think it's a great choice for inspiration for your work. Next, I chose Collier Shore, the amazing Collier Shore. Collier has been really interested in teens and adolescents. And this is a wrestling team that she spent a really long time with. And of course, with Collier, there's the male identity and sexuality happening here, a lot of close male contact and sport. And I was thinking about gamers, and I was thinking about, you know, my son isn't a sports guy, and the gamers those are his people, his team, his, you know, his support group. He's so close to them. And Collier really, in this body of work, Wrestlers, really captures how close these boys are and what this physical activity brings to their lives, which is really intimacy with other people. And it's lovely. If you don't know Collier's work, go ahead and look it up. This is quite an older body of work, but just an amazing photographer all the way around. My age.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks. Bye, Rusty.
Bye.
We have Jean, and then we have Nathalie, and then we'll take questions. So Jean, talk to me about this. I love reading your statement. If you could just talk about where these objects are, shadows in the museum, where you shot and why you shot there and why you shot this way.
Yeah, my wife and I go to Paris frequently before COVID. And I was talking to a friend about my next trip. And my friend said, have you been to the Dapper Museum? And I said, I never heard of the Dapper Museum. It turned out to be a small museum that specialized in African art. And so we started to make that a part of each of our trips. We would always spend a day or afternoon at the Dapper, and at some point we found out it was going to be closing in the summer of 2017. So we made it a point to get there before it closed, and I wanted to have something from the Dapper, and I didn't want to make it documentarian style, so I didn't want to just take pictures of the sculptural stuff in the museum. I wanted something that felt more of my own, if you will, and to just take pictures of the items there just kind of didn't feel inspiring to me. So I started taking pictures of the shadows cast by the sculptural stuff, either on the walls or on the floor, and that's how this series came about. It's called Shadows in the Museum, and there's 12 of them altogether. And
let's go ahead and look at a couple more. You can keep talking us through this. I think there are 3 images total.
Yeah, there's 3 in the show, and I feel like I'll always have something now from the Dapper, something important, something that is my own, and these images just make me happy.
One more. If I can have favorites, that last one is my favorite, if I'm allowed. I think it's really, really mysterious. I'm not sure what I'm looking at. I know it's a shadow, but it could be like an Indonesian shadow puppet. It could be so many different things. And
I think that's what's more fun about these, when they are not so literal. You know, different people can take different things away from them. So that's what makes them fun to me.
They do read figurative though. And they do read figurative in a really ghostly kind of way. They seem a little haunted to me, and in a great, like, super exciting way.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, next.
So Gordon Parks is my one of my favorite photographers. Gordon Parks, I think everybody may know, but he was a photojournalist from the 40s through the 70s and spent most of that time with Life magazine in the heyday of, photojournalism and large format magazines. But this quote by Parks inspires me because I always want to feel comfortable and free to photograph whatever I want and in a manner that I want. So I don't, I don't want to be pigeonholed as a whatever. And this quote sort of gives me that freedom. The picture behind the text is my great grandfather, And I like to have him in my studio kind of looking at me. It feels very supportive to have the ancestors nearby. And so these two things together, it's a little photograph in a frame here. I keep it nearby, just out of reach. Yeah, this quote always inspires me. When I'm wondering if what I'm doing makes sense, I can come back to this quote and say, oh yeah, of course it makes sense.
That's a perfect segue to someone that I hope that you might already know, but maybe I'm introducing. Let's go to the next one. Lavin Kaganye. And Lavin is from, hold please, from Johannesburg. She's from Johannesburg and born in 1990, which I'm pretty sure she's an infant. No, I'm kidding. A young, amazing emerging artist. And she did this series about her mother. It's called Kelefalaka, Her Story. I need to put my dog out of the room. Hold on for 1 second. Come here. Oh.
It's a small dog.
Sorry about that. Cute but loud. And so I'm a big fan of her work, and this is early work for her. Let's go to the next one. What she's doing here is after her mother passed, she realized that her mother kept most of her clothing. And she went in and she put on her mom's clothes and recreated the poses in the photographs, in the family photographs that she found of her mother. So the person in the most focus is her mother, and the ghost behind her or beside her is her daughter. And so I was thinking about you're photographing the shadow of sculpture that had come from Africa to Paris, which is a loss for one culture, and it transplanted in another place. And then this favorite museum of yours closing and capturing kind of the ghost of these sculptures before they're probably packed up, put in storage, moved on someplace else. I don't know the story of that institution, but I was thinking about that on a personal level. And her work is really extraordinary, and the bodies of work that come after this are quite remarkable. So if this is a new artist for you, let's go to the last one. So if you all don't know her, I encourage you, if you can back up one. Oops, back it up.
I did.
I encourage you to write down this name. And if you go, you can see interviews with her. And I really tried to say her name properly, but she is wonderful to listen to talk about her work. So I'm happy to maybe introduce someone tonight. Did you know about her work, Jean?
No, I'm not familiar with her at all, but now I feel like I have homework, so that's cool.
Homework tonight. All right, let's keep going. Thank you so much, Jean. Nice talking.
Yeah, thank you. Good hanging out with you. Cheers.
Hey, Natalie, let's hang out.
Hello, Meg, and everyone else. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. This is really interesting. I'm excited to see what you're going to come up with.
Well, let's talk about this body of work that is from Bodie, California. That's and right. I know that you have pairs of images here, so feel free to give Angelika the cue to move to the next one when you're ready to move on.
So actually what we're looking at right now is the original picture. And that is not the edited pictures that I printed that is in the show, but I thought it would be interesting to show how I work and what I work with. So basically the trip to Bodie was like end of 2019, just me and my husband, no children. It was fantastic. It was a Monday and Tuesday. And we went to visit the town of Bodie. It's a state park now. It was a gold mining town that got abandoned after multiple fires and other horrible things happening over there. And you can now visit whatever houses are still standing. And basically, I don't know, I think I took over 7,000 pictures in one day in that place. And the pictures that I was the most excited about was to take through the windows.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, you're not given a lot of leeway for your point of view. You cannot climb on anything. So you can just sneaking into one room and basically everybody has the same point of view. Like, so if you go to Bodhi the same day as me, you're going to end up probably with an image very, very similar to this. And I had seen a lot of pictures of Bodhi online. I was excited to go see the place. But when I was there, I realized why they were all the same. And I was wondering how I could treat my image and the feel that I had of the place and transform that into something that is mine, that's not all over the internet. And so I don't know if the next image is what, so Angelika, if you can, I don't know if the next one, yes. So this is the final image.
Yeah.
The process is basically to invert the image. It's a Winkit taking photographs when I was a teenager, when we still were using film and developing it home. And I always thought that the negatives were the most interesting. I was always excited to develop a picture, but there was always something that made me feel that I wanted to see that negative bigger. And now with Photoshop, you can just invert your image very, very easily. And it still looks like the same place, but it becomes something else. It becomes more about the essence of a place, or the essence of a person. And I guess that's what was speaking to me in that place. What was left, what was making it, yes, I felt like when I went there, it was my first ghost town. I'm a big fan of Westerns. And so I did not know what to expect. And everything was so pretty and cleaned and taken care of. And I felt that there was absolutely nothing eerie or uncomfortable, or I was disappointed. And I started to look through the windows and I started to see that looking at the wallpapers and the doors that are half open or almost closed, and whatever was left was, that's when I felt like, oh, okay, that's where the ghosts are. They're inside. They're in the wallpaper. They're in the doors.
Look at the next pair, and then we'll see more of that.
So that one was the lighting in the kitchen, and the kitchen was this very weird green. So when you invert the image, you get a lot of pink. I think these are the only two pink images that I've ever made. And they were picked for the show. So
this idea, you made your own ghost story, which I love. I'm kind of addicted to those television shows where they go ghost hunting. And yes. I thought, all right, here we go. These landscapes are when they put on those night goggles and go through the houses and
things are a bit blurry, right? It's never
exactly. And so this body of work, thinking about how ghosts relate to memory and how you can never remember exactly what you saw. And so this sort of off image is also, I think, referential to the way that we remember, partial truths, basically, about what we see. Let's see, I wrote down something. Yeah, you chose to mount these on aluminum, which I thought was really interesting. What do you like about that mounting substrate?
Well, especially for this series, I thought that, so basically, instead of printing on a white surface that is luminous, and so what happens is where the white would be, instead you get the texture of the aluminum, and it gives it, so you can't really see on the picture right now, you don't get that that texture, but it's a little bit more gritty, and it almost gives like a 3D quality to the prints, and it really pulls you in. It's very strange. And it feels like the light's coming from behind the image. And I felt like it was emphasizing the eeriness that I was looking for. So
let's look at your inspiration shots, and then folks, this is our last few slides, and we can take a few questions. I realize we're coming up on the 1 hour mark. So you have Edward Hopper, and then go to the next one. Oh wait, there should have been one. Nope. Yeah. Hiroshi Sugimoto and Edward Hopper, both really photographers, especially in this Hiroshi series of cinemas that are really all about light.
Mm-hmm. For me, Edward Hopper, like it's an artist that I was always drawn to, just because of the sense of solitude, the sense of space, and the sense of calm. And I know his most famous paintings have people in it, and they tend to not communicate, and I guess it emphasizes on that. But I really am drawn to all these paintings that have nobody in it.
Yeah.
But they are still there, and it's kind of how I felt with Bodhi. There's nobody there, but they're still here. And I think this painting is from his studio, and so it's not really about, you know, it's more about the feel that he has in this place than it is about what it looks like. You know, where like his easel or his inspiration pictures or his tubes of paint. It's about the feel, it's about the space, it's about the essence of how he felt there. And I guess I am drawn to more lonely spaces, and I mean not necessarily lonely, but solitude, I guess is the word. So
I think that's a good segue to the artist that I chose for you. This is Marja is an artist from Finland who works with a camera obscura, and those are. It looks like those might be in the same space, but it's actually two separate photographs there. Of sometimes Marja's work ends up as an installation that you can walk into, and other times Marja actually stages these 4 photographs, builds the whole camera obscura, and the end result is the end product is the photograph. And so, like I said, she's Finnish, she's from Finland. And I think her work to me is about this mental landscape, about these memories and fears and dreams, and both Jean's work and your work, putting them back to back with each other, this idea of place and absence and loss. And, you know, she's inserting herself and others sometimes into these magical landscapes that she's building that are beautiful and haunting. There's something really disturbing about them as well, because camera obscuras put the landscape upside down. Go to the next, please. Yeah, and so I'll leave you with this image. There's a bed and a person and the camera obscura, and it gave me the right feel. Looking at your work and looking at her work, there's just this similar haunted feel, but also extremely, you know, with formal considerations in mind and color in mind as well. So that is all she wrote for tonight. Thank you, Nathalie. Thank you to all the artists. And I think I had a couple slides in here mislabeled, and so my apologies about that. But it was such a great conversation with all of you, and I'm so grateful to be able to go through your work. And 6 artists in 1 hour, man, I feel like it was like a marathon, like a sprint. So we need, you know, we need more time. We need more time together in the future.
You did great. I want to thank you very much, Meg, for moderating this session. Also want to give a shout out to the curators, Daniel Nevers and Jennifer Brandon, and a big thank to Art Gallery for hosting Magnetic Pull.
And thank you to Angelika, who ran the
absolutely.
who ran the presentation tonight. Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
I wasn't looking at the chat, so I don't know if there are any questions or if we have time for it. I know that we started, I wrote it down, we started at 12 after. So going, giving an hour to the artist, we have 2 or 3 more minutes left.
Well, I'm not seeing any questions at the moment. Okay. So, well, it looks like maybe there's a question here from Katrina and Aaron Klein, everyone. It's been really fun. For those of you who take photos of people, some of the photos are so intimate. How do you accomplish that without intruding and without upsetting people? I don't know. Gene, do you want to take a whack at that?
Sure, I'd be happy to. But before I do that, thank you, Meg. Thank you so much for spending time with us and being so generous with your precious time. I appreciate that. Taking pictures of people, I do something old-fashioned and just ask them, if I photograph 12 people, I get turned down 1 time. And so, yeah, it's to me not that big of a leap to engage with people and talk to them. I like to ask people their names, and I like to tell them why I'm photographing them or what I liked, what caught my attention about them. And people are pretty vain, and people like to feel good about themselves, and so they tend to react positively. So yeah, I don't consider at all myself a street photographer. So if I'm out photographing people, it's not for that purpose. Yeah, I'd like to interact.
Hey, Rusty, I wonder about those gamers. How did they feel with you having your camera there?
I did have some of them opt in, but because they're playing in public tournaments, I actually went to the managers of the place and got their permission. So the assumption is that you are on camera when you go to one of these tournaments. So actually, I didn't really have them sign releases or anything like that. They were just opting in by virtue of being in public, which made it easier. But yes, I mean, you don't want to disturb when someone's playing. You don't want to like get in their face, right? So you have to. It's like, yeah, you got to hang back a bit.
Anthony, do you sometimes? I mean, I imagine you get away with photographing people, and they might not even know that you were there.
Yeah, that's one way that I do it. Yeah, in those processions, people expect to be photographed and even want to be photographed. And I'm usually at a little bit of a distance in that situation. Other times, if I'm kind of doing more of a portrait, then I will either ask or kind of point to my camera and ask permission in that way.
Cool. Well, we probably should mosey. Again, Meg, thank you very much. Anthony, Natalie, Angelika, Jean, thank you very much. I think that's all.
When's the next one, Rusty?
The next one is February 20th. We posted a link here. You can register to it, get to it from the BAPC.com/magnetic-pull, BAPC.photo, /magnetic-pull.
I'm pretty sure it's Daniel Nevers. It's one of the curators of the show is in the driver's seat for that one. I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks. Let me add one thing that it's at 11 a.m. Saturday morning, February 20th, right before the last opportunity people have to go to the gallery from 12 to 3 that day. So you can come to the talk and then go to the gallery and see the work. That's it.
That's it. It's a wrap. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.